Panel number 2, we have the dude that is in charge of all of this place. He has got an incredible background. I'm thrilled that he put the time together. The CEO of Invited, here comes David Pillsbury. Next up, we have the co founder and general partner at Good Alpha Industries, and he is also the owner of the LA Mat Drops Major League Pickleball team. Put your hands together for Zubin Mehta. And finally, a strategic advisor to Major League Pickleball and a massive background in tennis. Go nuts for Ann Worcester coming up here. So what a squad I've got to my right here. This is fantastic. So may I call you Pills? I know you love. I know that's your moniker there. Did you ever dream you'd have a pickleball boulevard going down the street at one of your clubs? It's unbelievable out there.
No, I'm not. I'm not that creative. I mean, our team pulled this together with Tom Dundon, his team. It's been a passion project for all of us. Um, I mean, to be honest with you, I really didn't even know what pickleball was 3 years ago. I mean, really, it was kind of this sleepy little sport that just kind of was like an awakening giant. That's what it's been for us. It's been really an amazing journey. We'll tell you more about it, I'm sure, as we walk through this panel today.
Yeah, and I think the differentiator that pickleball has become, as we talked about on the cruise ship. So I'll stay there for a minute with you. How has pickleball started to drive membership, and what have you done to grab onto that? We talked about in the first panel. Having courts is a critical part of the growth of this sport. You've got that opportunity.
Well, we're in the business of. By the way, I want to just shout out. Is Fernando back there? Where's Fernando? Thanks to our incredible food and beverage team here, the banquet team. Big round of applause. Thank you guys. Amazing.
Yes, French toast shooters. I
Yeah,
mean,
how
come
about
on.
that, right? Creative execution. You guys have brought out the best in us. Um, well, we're in the business actually of building relationships and enriching lives. That's actually what we sell at a club. And it's golf is just a platform, tennis is a platform, fitness is a platform, food is a platform, so is pickleball. And what better a place to build relationships with people you care about and provide life enrichment? Pickleball does that. And so we call pickleball another micro community. These are all micro communities that we curate and we facilitate. And pickleball happens to be an amazing micro community that is relatively easy for us to plug into because we have all this infrastructure. So we don't have to build a restaurant. We have one. We don't have to build a bar. We have one. All we have to do is build pickleball courts and then provide the team like Ben and David, our pickleball and tennis directors here at the club, to create the programming to bring it all to life. And so what we did is we provided the capital here, but it's the human spirit that Ben and David provide that really brings the magic to life. So we now have a pickleball membership that is pickleball exclusive, and we have racket, which includes tennis. And there are over 200 dedicated pickleball members right here at Brookhaven Golf and Racket Club. Racket part's new because of this amazing facility that we've provided back here in the back for the tournament. So we're very excited about this at all of our clubs. We have 440 pickleball courts across the country now, 1,300 pickleball and tennis courts. We're the largest footprint in the U.S. So we're really, really excited about our future. And we're just getting started. So we're really excited about the future with Invited and Pickleball.
Yeah, that's an amazing, and you're just scratching the surface. I mean, that's what's so exciting and why we're all so excited here. So Zubin, you have jumped in a couple places with pickleball in a big way. You have choices that you can invest your money in. Why pickle and why? We'll start with why did you get into Major League Pickleball?
Sure. So, just by way of background, I run an investment firm called Good Alpha. Is that better? Sorry. So just by way of background, I co-run an investment firm called Good Alpha. We focus in kind of three categories: consumer products, consumer technology, and then what we define as consumer experience, which is broad-based sort of sports entertainment and restaurants hospitality. In that category, I've me and my partners actually have been tennis players and golfers our whole life. And a handful of years ago, I just started hearing a lot about pickleball and never played it. I actually went and took a lesson, like most of the people probably in this room, got addicted pretty quickly, and then realized there was sort of an investment opportunity. When we broadly look at categories that we want to invest in, we focus on sort of the macros first. I think most people know the statistics here, but there was roughly 10 million players that play actively. There was 46 million people that played in the last 12 months. And so when you see that kind of growth, there's just an extraordinary sort of number of ways that you can participate in it. So we were looking at the broad-based category generally. Through a little bit of luck, we ended up buying one of the first teams at Major League Pickleball. We own the Los Angeles Mad Drops, and that was kind of our first play in the professional space. And then more broadly, we're now investing in a handful of entertainment concepts. We're looking at some equipment and apparel things, and the goal is to play both professional pickleball and at the grassroots level where there's a lot of growth. So that's kind of how we got into it.
I'm going to come back to you on the entertainment because I love it, but I want to get Ann going here too. So, Ann, we're all excited about pickleball. We're thrilled that this is going to be the biggest event in pickleball history. You've been part of tennis a long time. How do we make sure we don't screw this up? What can we learn from tennis?
A lot. I think we can learn a lot from tennis's successes and tennis's failures, but also bearing in mind that pickleball is a different brand, a different sport, a different audience. Pickleball is sort of everything that the consumer wants and needs. It's social, it's fun, it's all for all ages, all genders, all income levels, all athletic abilities. It's so egalitarian. That's what I love about pickleball. And I think that's probably what we all love about pickleball, right? Um, I think the one thing that we can learn from tennis is to be unified. The competition is not within pickleball, y'all. The competition is external, other sports, other entertainment, other vehicles and avenues for the consumer's time, the consumer's dollars, the sponsor dollar, the viewer attention. So I'm very proud that MLP, Major League Pickleball, and PPA are merging and coming together to bring together the premier league tour week in, week out, and this very unique co-ed team format founded by Steve Kuhn back in 2021. We have 24 teams. It's a co-ed team format. I love the fact that it's equal prize money, equal playing time for men and women. That is very important to MLP and one of our very important core values. So I I I just encourage everyone to unify and to come together and to remember that if this is an emerging sport that is like a rocket ship, and the more we can work together to grow the sport instead of being divisive and cannibalizing each other. I think that's really the number one thing to learn from tennis. There's an amazing statistic if you look at all the sports in the whole wide world: NFL, NBA, NHL, European football, Formula One. Tennis is second to last in revenues. Second to last in revenues. And tennis has this rich history, and it's the most global sport, and it's co-ed. But it's because tennis has 7 governing bodies, and it cannibalizes itself. And within that 2% or that very, very low percentage of revenues, the 4 Grand Slams are like 85% of the 2%. So let's learn from that. Let's unify. Let's come together. Let's grow the sport together. That's probably the headline.
Yeah, it's a big headline and one that I'm happy to be here with. So, Hills, we got all of this going around. You got the clubs. How do you get the message of pickleball out into the community? Because I think people aren't sure. They see the golf courses. You don't exactly see a pickleball court when you're going by. What is your team doing today to build on everything that we've talked about here so far?
It's one of the reasons why we're so excited to host the event and host additional MLP, PPA events at our other clubs across the country. It's just about visibility primarily through social media, so that people in the community understand that there is a place they can go play. Because what people want is they want to know they can get court time, and they want to know they can compete with people at the same Duper level. And if they can do that in an environment that is safe and comfortable with other people that share that passion, which is what a club does, it's the perfect setting, right? And you get all the amenities with it. So that's the message that we have to, sort of permeate throughout our communities. And, we had walk-in members yesterday because of this tournament. Walk in here and buy a membership because they didn't know we had pickleball here, right? And keep in mind, I mean, we built this in 4 months. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, this summer, basically. And so, our goal is for this to be the center of the universe for pickleball. And Tom, not surprisingly, has some big ideas about how we're going to do that together, which we'll be excited to share with you as things evolve post this week. But this is just going to get bigger and better, and with it will come more awareness that private clubs are a great place to play pickleball. There's also lots of other great places to play pickleball, good public access facilities, and we're a little niche, right, for pickleball players that can afford to get a private club membership, which gives them essentially guaranteed access and court time, which is so important to our members.
Yeah, I think that guarantee is interesting because when I started playing, I played on the tile floor at the Salvation Army in McKinney, Texas, here. And we played until 1 in the morning on tile floor. There was this much room between the nets. It was crazy, and we freaking loved it. Now, this has evolved. People love going to play at parks, but they also are wanting that word that you use, guaranteed court time. And that is something that all of you that have facilities and are watching need to really figure out how you monetize that, because whether you've got a club like David here or you're a Parks and Rec person, the players want to know that they can play with their people. We love just showing up and playing. That's part of it. But figuring out the best way and the easiest way to give access to that, I think, is a huge thing that will continue to evolve here. So, Zubin, I I can't even believe this is a thing, and I can't wait to hear more about it because I want to go. He's got Camp Pickle. I'm in. What do I got to do? Tell us more.
So we've been looking at like venues in general and how to invest and play in the space. I think it's no secret that with the growth of the game, not only where it is today and where it's going in the future, there's just not enough courts in almost every state. So you see, country clubs, municipalities, parks, warehouse conversions, mall conversions, everyone's sort of going after it with different approaches. And we've looked at a handful of different opportunities. One of the things, coming back to some of the things I said earlier, is we're thinking about macro trends. And so there's a macro trend, obviously, around pickleball growth. And then there's a macro trend around this idea of entertainment, which is sort of, Top Golf, Drive Shack, places where younger consumers go out, not for dinner like maybe I would have gone out 20 years ago, but they go out for experiences. So we are the lead investor in a concept called Camp Pickle, which is a 1940s nostalgic Adirondack feel camp where you have a combination of pickleball, shuffleboard, darts, really high quality food and beverage. We are opening up our first units in Denver and Raleigh, and then opening up another 8 to 10 over the next couple of years. But it's built around this lifestyle concept where people can go do pickleball, they can do other things, they can eat and drink and really enjoy themselves. And I think there's a big opportunity about it. The leader in the space right now is a company called Chicken and Pickle, which I'm sure a handful of you've been to. So similar concept with a different sort of lifestyle branding concept.
So I think people like to understand. Okay, yes, as you mentioned, Chicken and Pickle started this. There's several here in the DFW area now. Where did the camp come from? Where did 1940s come? I think people want to understand because, as we talked about in the first panel, how you differentiate what you have is so important, and there's so many demands on the time and investment of the consumer. What got you there?
So from a brand perspective, we partnered with a guy named Robert Thompson, who's been in the entertainment and restaurant space for about 30 years. He started a concept called Punch Bowl Social, which was one of the original leaders in entertainment. Everything he focuses on is all about brand, lifestyle, and high quality food and beverage. In terms of the camp feel, the idea is that the pickleball demographic's very broad. You'll have 60-year-olds, you'll have 20-year-olds, and you'll have 8-year-olds playing. So when you have a camp feel for the younger consumer, it's going to have some element of hipster, kitschy, cool, For the older consumer, it's going to have a nostalgic sort of camp feel. So that's the idea. So what we're basically creating is these large lodge concepts where you'll have food and beverage, duck pin bowling, dart, shuffleboard. You'll have outdoor courts, and I think the aesthetic is really neat. And ultimately, you want people not to just come for the activities, but for the look, the feel, the food, beverage, and the enjoyment. So that's kind of what drove it.
Can't wait to go. So let us know because I'm in. I want to be a camper. So, Ann, you talked about unification, and we couldn't agree with you more there and the benefits of that going forward. There's other things tennis has done well. Let's talk about some of those things that can be near term and longer term things on the horizon as it relates to pickleball.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that tennis and other sports have done is to really build and prioritize tentpole events. Tentpole events to create brands, which ultimately create stars. You think about the U.S. Open in tennis, the U.S. Open in golf, Wimbledon, the Masters in golf, the Kentucky Derby. It doesn't even matter like who's playing it. Those are social events. They're places that people want to be seen. And from those events emerged stars. I'll never forget in 2021, a little known qualifier, a British player ranked like 90 in the world, Emma Raducanu, won the U.S. Open. Won the U.S. Open out of nowhere. Great Cinderella story. And she hasn't really done that much since. But guess what? Tiffany, Mercedes, Rolex, all these brands wanted to be affiliated with a U.S. Open champion. And she is worth something like $100 million today. So I think what we can learn from tennis and other sports is to really focus on tentpole events to create brands, which then create stars. We have fantastic players in pickleball today, but in a year, I think Jason mentioned this, we're going to have a whole new crop of stars. And in 2 years, they're going to come from other sports. They're going to come from grassroots pickleball events. And so, really building these tentpole events will help us to build the sport. Because, of course, we want those 50 million grassroots players to be watching our broadcast and buying our sponsors' products and following us on social media and buying tickets to pro events. So, we really need to build this whole ecosystem. And based on this tentpole event, the importance, I love seeing what PPA has done here and invited at the nationals. I had no idea that it was going to be such a festival, and I love the fact that it is bringing new fans and new players to pickleball. That's exactly what we need to do more of.
So, David, touching on that, the idea of you need different players to play a role in building these tent poles. Where do you see yourself fitting into this? Because this is a necessity for our sport to become like, oh, I'm not missing nationals.
Well, look, I mean, we're not probably smart enough to do this ourselves, so we hooked our wagon to the right horse, which was PPA and Tom and the entire PPA team. Um, we we believed in Tom's vision that this would be the tentpole event. I mean, we want this to be mecca for pickleball players all over the country. So every pickleball player that watches this weekend should aspire to be back here for this event next year. So this becomes, the U.S. Open of pickleball, and we think what better place? It's in the center of the country. The weather's amazing. It's the perfect venue, and so we just all doubled down. We thought, let's do it now, and it was really Tom's vision that inspired us to say, okay, well, we're going to have to go spend $5.5 million, which, by the way, we didn't have. It wasn't like laying around. We basically had to come up with it by scraping the money together across our entire platform to get this work done to get ready for this event. We agreed to do the event before we did the renovation, and which was crazy, by the way. But Tom's very persuasive, and so we did it. And I'm grateful that Tom had the vision. I'm glad we did it. Now we're here, and we're really, really proud.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is meant to just drive incremental awareness. So I think even over the last couple of years, certainly on the Major League Pickleball side, we have a handful of celebrities, athletes, actors, actresses that are involved. And at every point that we had a new team come in and made announcements, there was just incremental awareness around the sport. And I think, I would like to think that some of that drove more people trying it. And so, I have so many friends that have basically said, "Hey, I've always heard about pickleball. I've wanted to play it. And then I saw this article that LeBron James bought a team and I'm going to go try the game. And once they try it, like anything else, people get addicted." So I think a lot of that is with PPA and MLP coming together. We've got a platform with all of the best players in the world. We can take that across the country to 30 different locations next year, showcase how great these players are, how great this game is. And then the beauty of this sport is, unlike other tournaments, you will have a professional tournament and you'll have an amateur tournament next to it. And the idea that you as an amateur can play next to your heroes is unlike anything else. I give the example, I brought my 11-year-old son to the MLP event this week. He comes to the event, he watches the pros play, and then he plays for 8 hours alongside them. He was actually playing with two kids of some pros who are homeschooled. And by the end of the weekend, he had to go home to school. And he said, "Dad, can I get homeschooled? I only want to play pickleball." So you have those kind of circumstances, which are really funny, but it's really unique about the format and the construct of the organization that we have.
That may be the greatest sentence ever. I want to be homeschooled, so I
You know,
want to be homeschooled so I can play
it
pickleball.
was not particularly pleasing for me or my wife. I don't think we can homeschool them.
That is amazing. And had you've seen tennis and pickleball from a very unique position. What have you seen from the involvement of the celebrity side of this that has enabled us to get opportunities of the sport that weren't there before?
Yeah, one of my multiple roles at Major League Pickleball is working with owners and investors. And Zubin's being very modest. He led two of our expansion rounds, and I got to be his sidekick and learn a ton from him. And we really went into last year's expansion round with the priority of looking for strategic partners and ownership groups that could help us with sponsorship and entertainment and branding and media. um, but we were Zubin was particularly instrumental in knowing that this celebrity fairy dust would help. And so, when we announced LeBron's group, they brought all those things to us, plus LeBron's name. And I think we got something like 4 billion views from that announcement. So that raises the profile of not just Major League Pickleball, but pro pickleball and amateur pickleball. And I'm a huge believer in rising tide raises all ships. And if so, I really do agree with Zubin that when we add LeBron and Kevin Durant and Tom Brady and we have Brene Brown and so many other celebrities as part of strategic ownership groups that bring great business skills to Major League Pickleball, it helps the whole ecosystem. And um, you know, a rising tide raises all ships. So I do think that the celebrities help. Sometimes it's very high maintenance to work with them because I also have the pleasure of doing that. But like when Drew Brees, who was one of the owners of the Mad Drops, leans in and creates content for us, does media interviews. We partnered with him for his NOLA Fest in New Orleans, which gave back tremendously to community. Great things can happen.
Yeah, David. So you mentioned how important social media has been. What are the meetings you're in to be able to say, hey, men and women of my team, we have the courts, we have this expansion, what's working and what isn't, and what can everybody learn from the wins and losses that you've had?
Well, I don't do much except sit on the panel. Jonathan Freilich, our national director, is back here, and we've got an amazing team. And he really kind of led the charge for us in the partnership with PPA, hosting more events like this across the country. And we'll do more than we do today. I think we host 4 today, and we're looking forward to doing many, many more because we've got the infrastructure to do it. But Jonathan works with our local teams. Our local teams work with our marketing department. And then we work with Tom's group at PPA, and we both are pushing out content constantly. And it's just incredible. I'm not very good at social media, but everybody tells me how great it is. So, you know, I'm like, well, congratulations to our team. So I don't have much to do with that part, but it's excellent. And I'm shocked at the amount of exposure we're able to generate. I mean, people are really interested in what's happening here, and so they follow it. And it's almost like we can't push out enough content, to be honest with you. It all gets consumed very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I think, Zubin, as everyone here looks at, there's all this content out there. There's a lot of people that want to invest. How do you keep your eye on the prize, and what would you tell people out here that want to get involved in pickleball to be able to find the right things? Because there's a lot of stuff out there, and you can get lost in the wash of that as well.
Yeah, I think, look, the category is so broad. You can invest in amateur, you can invest in pro, you can invest in apparel, you can invest in venues, and then there's all sorts of tangential stuff. We were even talking to some folks at HSS. You know, obviously we're getting a lot of people active, but there's also a lot of injuries because more people are getting active, and so there's ways to participate in that. So I think it has to be, you know, look at the categories, try to find places that you're passionate about, try to find people that you think are doing great things and sort of get involved with them. But there's an extraordinary amount of places that you can invest broadly in pickleball and take advantage of the growth and really help grow the game at the same time.
So, Ann, obviously from the tennis side, you saw a lot of players get involved. The athletes that we have, obviously the best player in the world, 16 years old, and Annalie Waters on the women's side, and Ben Johns at 24. Building stars is going to be an important part of this. What can we learn from what tennis did to make them household names? They certainly are here. Annalie Waters cannot walk 1 inch on Pickleball Boulevard, and she's taking a picture, and she's an unbelievable ambassador at 16 years old. How do I want her to not be able to walk down the street in not Pickleball Boulevard,
outside of a
but
pickleball
anywhere.
event? Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ben Johns and Annalie Waters are household names in our pickleball ecosystem, but you go out of our pickleball ecosystem and they're not. So how do we get there? When I took over the WTA, the players were doing little or nothing to market and promote their own sport. It was like Steffi Graf was the worst culprit. She'd do her post-match press conference and run. And so we knew we had to do a much better job of telling the players' stories off the court. So we created something called the ACES program, which was all about getting the players to be a much bigger part of the marketing and promotion of their sport. They had been handed this legacy from Billie Jean King and Rosie Casals, and they needed to pay it forward. And so we sat down with the biggest culprit, Steffi Graf, actually in Houston during the Virginia Slims of Houston, and explained the strategy and why it was so important to growing the sport and growing the WTA. And I just about fell off my chair when she said, okay, I'm not just going to participate, I'm going to lead it. And she did. And so we created this program where week in and week out, players would have to do 4 things, whether it's an additional content creation, charity visit, sponsor visit, media interview, and top down. And it completely changed the face of women's tennis at a time where we really needed to build the names and build the brands and build rivalries. And so in pickleball, our players right now are really good about doing things off the court, but as the prize money grows, as the sponsorship and endorsement grows, that may change because there's going to be more demands on their time. So I think that we'll probably get to a place where it's part of the rules and regulations that their paycheck is not just for what they do on the court, but off the court. And that if we want to grow this sport, all parts of it, venues, sponsors, tours, leagues, investors, team owners, the players need to do their fair share. And I know Michelle Escoval is here to learn, which I love. Shout out to Michelle for being here. I think it's fantastic. Love you too. So I do think that if we can, just like with Steffi Graf, explain the strategy to the players instead of just hammering them with another rule, I think our pickleball players will embrace this strategy.
Yeah, because you are a business as a top player, and I think they're embracing it. They're having teams now. There's more of that going on, and we've seen more coaches on the sideline. So it's an evolving ecosystem here that is something else to see. David, you have a big golf background. What are some things that you maybe have seen in golf that the pickleball world and space and community could learn from?
I think it goes back to what Ann said, is unification. It's really about pulling together. I mean, golf's complicated. I mean, it's just more mature. But I mean, you've got the PGA of America and the PGA Tour, and everybody thinks they're the same. They're not. They're two different organizations. And they have their own championships. I mean, the PGA of America has the PGA Championship. They've got the Ryder Cup. PGA Tour has the Players Championship. And then all of the events on the PGA Tour. Then there's the USGA. And then there's Augusta National. And there's the RNA in Europe. And then there's the European Tour and the Asian Tour. And now there's LIV. And look at what's happening in golf right now. It's a very complex landscape, and they're trying to find a new equilibrium. So what I'm excited to see is some of the difficulty of unification is already happening in pickleball. It can't happen fast enough. The sooner pickleball unifies, the faster the sport will mature. And it held golf back for a long time, and it's still holding tennis back, as you've heard today. So I think Ann's right. I think the headline is unification, because we're better together than we are apart. Right?
Amen.
Amen. Speaking to the choir here. David, what have you seen from the youth coming into your clubs here and playing? A lot of people are like, hey, we gotta get the youngsters going here. What are you seeing? What are you doing? And what can people learn from maybe some initiatives you've seen there?
Well, as Zubin said, I think it's pretty amazing what's happening with young people and pickleball. But in our world, it all comes back to programming. And so, you show me a great tennis director like David or a great pickleball director like Ben, and I'll show you great programming. So it's not accidental. It's because they actually are intentional about providing programming to get people exposed to the game and then to teach them properly from the beginning. And it's the same thing in golf, by the way. It all comes down to programming. It looks easy, and when it's happening, you really don't even know it, but it's not. It's very, very intentional. So programming is critical because it removes the randomness, right? It happens randomly, but it happens predictably when there's good programming. And so we focus intensively on programming at every club. So there's activities throughout the week for all different age groups, introductory activities, as well as competitive activities for people that are more involved in the game. So in our world, it always comes back to that word. It's all about the programming.
It's all about the programming, folks. And we talked about that all day. You have to take that step, or courts will be either empty or frustrating. And that's the last thing you want for the microsystems and little parts that you talked about. Zubin, how do people learn about companies like yours that are investing in pickleball and want to be, maybe they don't have that end of the capital investment, but they'd like to be a part of a Camp Pickle or other things you're seeing? How do people get involved in somebody who is looking at it from a higher level and can get to know someone like you and be a part of what you're seeing into the future?
They can email me at zubin@goodalpha.vc. Now, in all seriousness, I think the space, as big as it is and as much as it's growing, it's a small space. Everyone sort of knows everyone. Everyone works together. It's highly collaborative. I think Jason was talking earlier about sort of community. It's very much a tight-knit community. And so it's welcoming in a way where, when you go to a court and you play, everyone welcomes you and you're immediately part of that community. So I think if you're passionate about it and you want to get involved, whether it's in apparel or equipment or venues or at the pro level or on the marketing side, I just encourage people to reach out to really anyone that's in the space. I mean, all of us are here for business, and we want to make money and make a living, but we all have our view on sort of the greater good and growing the sport and introducing more people to it, whether they're older and younger. And so I feel like, more so than almost any other sport or community I've been involved with or business I've been involved with, this is the most inclusive. So I just encourage people to reach out, and there's always opportunities, and there's an endless stream of growth coming. And it's a place where it doesn't feel like work because it's people that are in it really love it.
Yeah, and what's some tips when someone comes to somebody like you? There's entrepreneurs that have just trying to get into this. There are very seasoned business people. What catches your eye? What can people be thinking about that differentiates them from others that you'd like to work with?
Yeah, I think it's, it's passion. It's really understanding kind of what you're doing and why you want to do it, what the reason is for what you're trying to do. It's how you're differentiating vis-a-vis the other things that are out there. It's, beyond those ideas, it's the underlying business and the economics around, where you're trying to take something and where you're trying to build it. Mostly things like that. At the end of the day, I think a lot of things that we do versus other things all come down to the people. We can see two great businesses, but ultimately we're going to make a decision based on the fact that that person's the right person to run it and take it to the next level.
So, Ann, we've talked a lot about more eyeballs on our sport. How do we get the grassroots level watching the great players on the PPA tour? What did tennis do? Was there something that was able to get? I played tons of USTA tennis in this very facility. How do we get all these people, whether it's the 10 million active, the 40 plus million that are playing, what have you seen, or what should these folks be thinking about to help get them tighter into the overall ecosystem here?
I think it's everything we've been talking about. It's building tentpole events that become real brands. I think it's the creation of stars. People love stars. It's doing an even better job of building rivalries. Rivalries create excitement and enthusiasm around a sport. It's having our top players meet each other early in the week, not just in the finals. It's having different players make it to the finals. It's having really interesting content. Content is king. There's nothing more important than relevant and interesting and exciting and creative content to build all of our collective social media, and the right sponsors who care about growing the game, the right venues who care about growing the game. I cannot emphasize enough that this is a team effort, and it really does take a village to build this sport. And sometimes I'll say to my husband, I can't keep up with this. I signed up for 10 hours a week, and I'm lucky if it's a 60-hour a week, work week. And he says, you know what, Ann, you are so lucky. You get to be a part of building something new. This is a moment in time. And that really resonates with me, and I think we're all lucky to be a part of this moment in time, even if we don't have much time to sleep. So it's
I like that. It's a great moment in time. Yeah, we don't even realize it because we're too busy. So that's I love that. Pills, what have you said to your squad about where's this going? How do we not just get caught up? We talked about this as the first year and we're building it, but multiple year plans matter. And how do you get your team to be able to say, all right, in 3 years I want this, in 5 years, what's going on behind the scenes here?
No, it's a great question. So it goes back to the team we've assembled, with Jonathan on point and great people like David and Ben here, who are thinking about what does this look like, 2 years down the road. And for us, it was exciting here for a lot of reasons. I mean, this is where our company started in 1957, right here at Brookhaven Country Club. So what better a place for us to really have kind of the center of our universe for pickleball than Brookhaven. And I know the mayor's here, sitting back in the back with some of his team from this great city, who has welcomed us with open arms and is excited about the identity this is creating. And so this really, as the center of our universe, all of our other facilities and events will sort of orbit around this, gives us the energy to kind of propel us forward with this big vision of continuing to build out our platform. We want to be a major player on the amateur side, and we want to be a significant host for the best players in the world. And we think we've got a great platform to do it. So what better place to start than right here where Bob Dedman started Club Corp, Now Invited, 65 years ago. So we're really excited about what's happening here. And again, I said this earlier, but we were Brookhaven Golf Club. We are Brookhaven Golf and Racket Club now. So we actually have changed the name of the club to reflect our commitment to pickleball and tennis, but racket sports here and as the center of our universe. And we look forward to 3 years from now, I think our platform will be quadruple the size it is today.
So there's a lot of people here. We have 49 states of the 50 people playing in this event. Over 3,500 players. There's going to be 80 courts out here. It's the biggest event ever, and we're all saying this is just the beginning here, which is amazing. How do folks from across the country, you have clubs obviously all over the country as well, how do they get involved in what you're doing? They might have a great idea. They might be able to add to that programming. How do we connect people to you and your clubs?
I mean, the people at our clubs, the connection is through the director of tennis, racket, and pickleball. They're really the nucleus, and they're the mouthpiece. So they then communicate to our management team, which is led by Matt here, amazing leader, and that gets then pushed out through the organization, through Jonathan and through the rest of our racket sports facilities. So we have a lot of two-way communication, sort of up and down, and I think it's working pretty well. Can always be better, but we listen to our members and we try to be responsive. It's expensive from a capital standpoint to deploy all of this, so you can only go so fast because there's only so much money to go around every year. But we've moved pretty quickly, and we've reprioritized capital to make that happen because the demand is there. So we have to be responsive to the demand, and I think for the most part, our members are really happy with the progress we've made.
All right. Ann, last call for you. Where do you see this sport going, and what should these folks be thinking about as they try to find their part in the business of pickleball here?
I think I've had like every person I've ever worked with in 38 years of tennis reach out to me to sell me something, to ask for a job, to want to be a sponsor. And I apologize to everyone I haven't had time to get back to, but it's because MLP keeps me so busy. I think everything that both Zubin and Pills have said is spot on. There are so many different opportunities to grow the game. I mean, I walk down the street in Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, with my Major League Pickleball sweatshirt on, and people stop me and say, "Pickleball? I play pickleball. Let me tell you about my game yesterday. I played with my neighbor, I played with my grandmother, I played with my grandchild." It's just like Insta friends, right? And I've only been here for 2 short years, and when I first came to pickleball, I thought, what am I going to be able to do with pickleball after 38 years in pro tennis? How am I going to be able to contribute? And whether it's player relations or owner relations or sponsorship or marketing, communications, event operations, there are so many different ways to jump in, to contribute, to participate. And I predict that this business forum, which I'm so happy we're doing, what a great idea. I predict this could be, so much bigger next year and the next year and the next year, because the whole ecosystem will continue to grow.
Yeah, back to year one and look at this, and now we're going to need a bigger room next year. Zubin, last call.
Yeah, I just want to say, I know we're all thinking about the future and where we're going to be 5 years from now, but what's outstanding is what's happening outside right now. Yes. So congrats to, David and Connor and his team to have this be the first event and have it be the caliber that it is, the size that it is, the number of players. It's amazing. And so while I'm excited about the future, I think we should even just enjoy this moment. It's really pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I think that is so well said, because we want the big thing. Well, the big thing's out there, all right? I mean, we have an incredible celebrity event that's going to be out there. This place is going to be packed tonight, so I think that's great perspective for all of us to take a deep breath and go, wow, this is pretty darn cool. I'll leave the last word here for you, Mr. Pillsbury.
I just would say the same thing. Big shout out to USA Pickleball. I mean, on the amateur side, the work that they're doing out here is terrific. Again, a big thanks to the PPA and Tom for his big vision. I was blown away when I came out here and saw it built out. I mean, I knew it was going to be great, but I didn't know it was going to be like this. And so, as Zubin said, I mean, I am so excited for this week. I'm trying to rewire my schedule because I was going to be back in the office on Thursday, and I'm like, I don't want to be in the office. I'm going to be here all week. I don't want to miss any of it because it's going to be so exciting every night. I mean, I heard last night that they were doing a medal ceremony at 1:30 in the morning. I mean, these people are crazy. It's awesome, right? And that's Monday night.
I think that was 65 to 69.
Yeah, that's 60. I mean, come on. I mean, like, this is being the moment time because this week is going to be magical, and it's already happening. This weekend was amazing. The MLP event was amazing. I was here on Saturday. I was blown away. And it's just going to get bigger and better all week. So soak it up, enjoy it, and I think as impressive as it's going to be, keep in mind this is year one.
Yeah, no, well said. And, it's just the work that Connor Pardo started with this vision of pro pickleball and came from Utah. And now the center of the universe is here in Dallas, and the team is there. And what that dude has done for the sport is unbelievable. And the hardworking PPA team with USA Pickleball and your staff that put this thing together. I mean, if you love pickleball, you should be darn proud of the work that all those folks did, because this is truly that sort of, okay, we're doing something big. And again, as we've said, this is year one. So thank you three so much for being here on the panel. Give it up for Ann, Zubin, and Pills. All right, here's how this is going to work, folks. 2 down, but 3 beautiful panels to go. What great stuff here from these guys. You got an hour to eat. I don't know what else they're going to serve that I'm going to have my mind blown on, but it's going to be amazing. So it's back there. So we're going to start. For those of you watching, thank you. We're going to start right back at 12:45 with our next panel. Thanks so much for being here.